Yeah, hi, I'm Aditya Patil, and okay. You know what? Let's just start with like saying I'm like a huge fanboy.
Hey, thanks, man.
And first of all, like everything about cred and everything about design, and I think I'm probably going to be speaking most about that. So let's start off with that, right? So like first question, I think you've been asked this question a lot, is about like how design processes at cred work, and like I've heard of so many videos, I've seen so many videos of how you explain. Tell me something that's like from this scratch point to like where we are right now. How did that happen? Like Kunal approaching you and asking you about.
Sure, Kunal and I have known each other for a very long time, and I think we go back at least 10, 12 years in time. And this is my second gig with him, so I did free charge also with him. So we have known each other for a while, and we've done design work together, so to speak. We built product together. So it, logically, like I just got back up, like I just joined in 2018 when I decided to do this with him. Look, I think the problem that Cred is trying to solve from a problem standpoint is not a very complex problem. It's like it's a relatively simple problem, and for me, the challenge I had and I continue to have, and it's an ever learning exercise for me as a designer, is that humans don't necessarily look at the problem as much as what they want to get out of it. Like it's honestly speaking, I've just realized in a rather tough way in my life that I have spent a lot of time trying to solve for a problem without really realizing that problems don't have an independent existence. There is no such thing called a problem. It's not a meta entity, right? Like let's look at something and say that's a problem. No, it is humans that meet with problems. So behind every problem there's a human, and eventually you're only solving for that individual. It's almost a little bit like saying like you're not treating for cancer, you're actually treating for a cancer patient. Like this independently treating for cancer is worthless. It's almost like finding a lab to just kill cancer cells. It will not help humanity. From a research standpoint, that's useful, but from a execution and at a implementation standpoint, you always have to think about the person. So many times what happens is problem solving is a bit like operation successful, patient died. So the whole idea of solving for cred was just to solve for the individual that is potentially going through the journeys that we were trying to build. So it has been kept straightforward like that. There's no real big story, big structure, a big process behind solving for a problem like that. I think 2 to 3 principles we hold on to. I think we all, without knowing that we hold on to that principle, hold on to it. Like one thing, we enjoy our journeys as much as our destination. If your journey isn't as exciting as the destination, it's you wouldn't necessarily call it a journey. So many a times software products are built without factoring in the need and importance of journey. Most of the times it's the outcome that gets extremely valued, and you sometimes want to make the person reach the destination as quickly. At the risk of sounding rhetorical, if the whole idea was always getting on top of a mountain, then a chopper ride is the best. Then nobody would trek ever. Nobody would take a drive. Nobody would walk, and it's a bit like that. So humans are naturally conditioned to feel the happy hormones at every step of the journey that you embark. Design process at cred, without really going to the nitty-gritties of it, is to focus on the journey as much as on the destination. And if the journey brings you happiness, you tend to remember the journey a lot, and it's more likely that you'll embark on it again. And the more you get a person to embark on a journey, you can put more pit stops, and if you put more pit stops, you can put up shops there, and you potentially sell something, and you make money. So that's the idea.
You just spoke about the like last question, right? Where you just essentially like summarized what your organizational values are with like respect to design and like startup. But like I've also heard Kunal Shah speak so much about core human motivations. I've also seen your podcast with like Tanmay Bhatt where you've spoken about this. So like what were your core human motivations when you were like choosing, trajectories in your career where you were like, let's leave the institutions and go for like startups and you go build something 0 to 1? So
sure, man, just organic. I don't think I premeditated anything. Honestly speaking, I have chanced upon most things that came to my life. Some by my design, some by just universe's design, because I showed up at Pittsburgh only because I didn't know better, not because I knew better. It's funny, right? So I didn't know better in the sense I didn't know what else I could do. Coming from a typical middle class household in South India, you either do engineering, you do medicine, and if both of them are not working, you'll give bank tests and become a banker. Right? It is about that. And for me, whatever I have done and the choices that I have made in my career are all a function of what excited me at that point in time in my life. Like, you know, that's how we all operate. Like, you know, if you just keep the whole career thing out and generally think about ourselves, we all tend to do things that make us happy at a certain point in time in life. So I spent a good near about 10 years in Adobe, and the company massively shaped me. I entered as a very young engineer, and I got a whole spectrum of things that I could do. But it also told me at a point in time that there was something else that was out there in the world that I could go and try. Sometimes you get cocooned, like, you just get very, very comfortable, and also there's a little bit of, like, you know, that emotional comfort and emotional cocooned feeling that you get. That, like, you're generally very protected, and being very protected makes you mediocre because you are not adequately challenged to what else can you do. And when you do that, you tend to suffer creatively, economically, growth-wise. You generally get stifled when that happens. And I think, fortunately, I identified that maybe there is something else out there. That's how I went and joined Myntra, which is a small company back in the day. And I struggled through my time in Myntra because I spent so much time in one company and its culture and its way of workings, and being placed in an entirely new setup was hard, but I endured that. And then, of course, I met Kunal and moved in. So everything was to do with what did I want at that point in time. So I have always dilly-dallied on it. 10 years ago, I wanted to build for scale. I wanted something that touches millions of people. I wanted something that has got profound impact on so many people. 3 years down the line, I just felt, no, I don't want to touch that many people. I just want to take a small segment of people, small cohort of people, and solve something really great for them. 5 years down the line, I would not even know what I would do. So I have only chosen basis, and I have been fortunate I could roll on that privilege. You understand what that is like sometimes. You're also fortunate and you land the right gigs at the right time, and you have the right support systems and whatnot. So I wouldn't take credit for many of that, but because I mostly chose right. And since I mostly chose right, it also mostly translated in reasonable outcomes. So I don't think I premeditated anything. I do get bored often. So that boredom sometimes kicks in to me wanting to do other stuff. So, yeah.
Like, now that we are talking about, like, career and trajectory, right? Like, if there's any, like, sort of piece of, like, information asymmetry that you have come across in your career, and as to, like, something that could be, like, you know, beneficial to, like, us Bitsins.
Can you elaborate on that? I mean,
like, say for example, I'm a person who wants to, like, venture into, like, startups and design as, like, a career on its entirety. But then, like, everything that's, like, non-contrarian right now is to just get into a company through, like, placements and stuff. So what should be the thinking process to, like, you know, essentially, you know, chase wealth? Like, is chasing wealth the wrong metric to go for?
Chasing wealth is the only right metric.
Chasing wealth is the only right metric.
There is no. I don't think there's any other metric at all. There are actual metrics and contributing metrics. So you'll find a lot of contributing metrics, but the actual metric is actually
Wealthy.
You're either wealthy or not wealthy.
Fair enough.
And like, you know, and then there is this very philosophical argument of how wealthy is enough, and how wealthy is really wealthy, and what wealth brings you happiness. I haven't gotten to a place or seen a situation where this is enough wealth to bring me happiness. I mean, I'm happy with the wealth I have, but I always think there will be more wealth that will bring me more happiness. So I think it's a hockey stick style, like, it's very logarithmic, if you know what I mean. It's not something that linearly goes. I think it depends upon how ambitious you are and how much effort do you want to put. And look, I think every journey of yours that you embark in is eventually going to take you to some form of wealth, unless you are sloppy, unless you are somebody who is really not wanting to pursue it and you are generally half-assed about it.
I think a lot of people do not realize the difference between trying to chase wealth and trying to chase, like, richness, right? Because a lot of people don't really like ownership. They like getting away from it. And that's true
look, man, I mean, you have to find your calling. Like, you know, you can't do anything to get wealthy, right? I mean, eventually, even though some amount of happiness can be bought with money, I think a large amount can be bought with money. There's still a small microcosm of that which kind of works against your psyche. You know, shit, is this what I really wanted? I mean, I have everything, but I don't really have that thing I wanted. But that is, if you have gotten to that place, I would argue you have done quite well for yourself, that you are now chasing that problem. At 25, 30, 35, 40, I'm 43. I don't think I've got to that place. where like, I probably have everything I want, but there is that elusive happiness. I haven't encountered it. And look, ownership is a personality trait.
Fair enough.
If you want to run,
that's very
you'd
true.
keep running. You want to go head on, you would do that. And sometimes it's okay to not be some people take roller coaster rides. Some people take a beautiful car and drive on a highway. Now you can't quite say that the guy who's taking the roller coaster is somebody to be celebrated more than a guy who actually took a more stable path. Both of them have its own significance and importance, and both of them will get to a destination. Now, the roller coaster ride gives you certain feelers of what complex life situations could be, and some people revel in that.
Like ride or dies are.
Some people there are some people with a sink or swim attitude in life, and some people who just generally want to be more predictable and conservative. You see, conservative is not necessarily a bad thing. If you're conservative, you also need to understand that your growth will actually come through the rules of engagement of a conservative person. You can't be conservative and then expect the wealth to come at the rate of somebody who is actually taking significantly higher value risks. Just like gambling, odds of
risk is
directly proportional to your odds of return. So I think it works the same way.
Fair enough. My next question will just tend to more on towards cred side, right? This was the first time. I don't think a lot of people view cred as what it is, right? Everyone knows it's a fintech company, but at the end of the day, I think what cred is trying to build is a trust tech company, right? And it's the first time in India somebody was building that. So how was the thought process behind when Kunal approached you with this idea? What did you have to benchmark it against?
Just apply first principles and see what are some of the most trusted things around us. You'd be very surprised, man. I mean, as in, you would expect that would be a very complicated exercise to find out what do humans trust. It's funny that and look, I'll be very honest, it didn't occur to me just like that, so smart, the spark just came in. Dude, no. I mean, look, sometimes the most obvious things are also the most elusive things that take time for you to actually internalize. The most trusted things in this world are actually things that you find very hard to detach from.
Okay.
So, look, I'll give you an analogy. I think I've given this analogy in the past. I'll just very quickly repeat it.
Sure.
It is very easy for you to detach yourself out from an electoral system because it puts the agency back on you. That if you don't like somebody, you vote them out. And you bring somebody new in there, which kind of you put at the center of influence and power of deciding your destiny. But if you actually see, governmental systems only has made unhappy people. Even if you go to Scandinavia, they would still say our government sucks. If you look at it from an Indian vantage, you will think Scandinavia is fantastic. But if you ask a Scandinavian, they'll say these fuckers are corrupt. You can beep my F. But one thing that you realize is there are other systems which are very trust first and high retention. Classic example is religion. When you're born into a religion, you can't leave it. Leaving a religion is blasphemous. And religion also brings people together just the way governmental systems bring people together. Except for the fact that religion doesn't serve you, you're actually serving religion. And the whole premise of religion is by serving religion, you serve humanity. It's convoluted, but it has got this brilliant way of uniting people and making people work for a common cause, which is not individualistic in nature. The first thing that religion fixes for is that it actually systematically kills individualism and brings a high sense of collectivism. If religion ever survived on individualism, religion would never succeed. So it is a collectivist principle that actually makes religion very successful. Because religion is very successful, what happens is religion can unite people like crazy. Religion can maneuver people and beliefs like crazy. So if you are ever able to create something which is a loose analog to religion, you're going to be very, very successful. So a lot of things directly borrow from, and you should just look at how religion is designed. It's very fascinating. Take any religion. So religion is fascinatingly designed to make people have a common ground to defend. So every religion insists on some degree of branding, if you may. And there are symbols which erstwhile have no other meaning. See, Sikhs wear a turban. Jews wear a skull cap, Muslims wear a typical skull cap, and if you see some Hindu subsects, there are forehead markings you have. There are color of costumes that you wear. See, what is all that doing? See, when you are actually forced by a certain external motivator to conform yourself to rituals, those rituals define who you are. And when you are actually bound by rituals, it is very hard to leave that. And many a time, rituals aren't really user-friendly. They're not designed for being user-friendly. They are designed for being collectivist, and they are designed to keep a community together. So the whole idea of cred is, can you create something which is formed out of collectivist belief, where people grow together and become somebody that will then contribute to each other's well-being. So this was the idea that came in, and it's very hard to become a religion, right? If you actually see, very few instances where new religions have come in have become successful. So the idea of cred is a bit like a very successful mall.
Got it.
What's a very successful mall? A very successful mall is something that you visit without purpose, but end up spending money.
That's one beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. So, and there are certain ways that it's a longish answer, but it's useful for you guys. If you see a mall, it actually sets in motion some design ideas, which is very counterintuitive to how real estate should be ever used.
Like how so?
A whole lot of mall is unused space.
Okay, fair enough.
Malls are built like this, right? And the whole central portion is actually 4 floors tall, and only the ground floor has congregation area, right? So malls are generally designed for exploration and not navigation. You should understand, navigation results in low gross margins because you will always navigate to where you have to go. You'll finish that and you will tend to do the next thing. But if you actually put a person into an exploratory space, he will end up doing things that he never knew existed. This is what happens when we get a diversion from a highway. We take a left and then we see a restaurant, we'll say, "Arey, pata hi nahi tha yahan pe aisa restaurant hai, kabhi chalte hain." Now, if I actually created a highway that took you from home to home, there's really no business to do there. There are no margins to make. So one thing that you need to understand that humans don't need navigation when they are actually exploring stuff, which is why malls don't build as many elevators as they build escalators.
Like I have a doubt on the same line, right? Like I have a doubt on the same line. If you think about it on like that terms, doesn't that contradict the entire notion of trying to be a Delta 4 product? Don't you want
how do you
to
become
have extreme USP to be like successful?
See, look, you can't build a every Delta 4 product, for the sake of people, Delta 4 is like, like perversely high return for something that you're creating. That's when you become Delta 4, not incremental but exponential. Right. So the most important thing that you need to understand, that the first thing that you need to do is you need to get a congregation of users to be able to even leverage them.
Got it.
So first step is to allow them to congregate. The second step is to make them congregate at a cadence where you can monetize them. So the creds, or any company like Cred's first aim is to make sure that you get the footfalls right, you get the retention right.
And you've got the best footfall off.
You get the good footfall first, and then you retain them. Like a footfall that happens only once is not good footfall at all. So the footfall has to happen again and again. And look, there are simple things that malls do which will blow your mind because it actually leverages human behavior than really sale. Have you always observed that malls always keep the children's play area at the topmost floor?
Yes.
So people just discover, go all the way. And who has spending power? Mostly the spending power is people who are at that point in age, like with young infants, toddlers. Like that's when the spending power sort of hockey sticks. And because 20-somethings can be leveraged by whoever you want. But it's not very strong leverage because you are also at a spending power curve where you have set amount of money that you want to spend, you would spend it anywhere. But when you have, see, it's funny, you should see the design of a greatly designed mall. An arcade, to the left of that is a food court. So humans always want to spend lower ticket sizes first before they move to the higher ticket size. So a food bill is not a very intrusive way to get you to start spending. So once you've spent, and when you walk with the family, you really don't take the elevator to go to the park. You will go in circles and you are going to find something. And malls will always sweeten the pill by saying 50% off, buy two, get one free. It is naturally getting the human behavior in. So when I am designing for credit, for the matter any company that is trying to design for retention, it's primarily about telling people to buy shit that they don't want. You can never make money by making people buy what they want. Because what you want is a small microcosm of things which has got very wafer thin margins. Things that you don't want have very high margins. Like, jo dukaan mein, that dress that you did not want, that looks really pretty, is probably at 60% margin. That boxer shorts that you really need
are
probably having about 10-12% margin. That's how life operates. So when you're designing for systems, what you need to understand is, where do the gross margins? Gross margins always are at places with high FOMO. And it is always at a point where you can't afford it, but you can stretch. Like, which is why iPhone works really well. You can't buy it, but you can also buy it. You can't apply the same logic for Rolls Royce. Clearly, you can't buy it. But most of the times what happens is the rich people are very hard to leverage. The wanting to be rich is very, very easy to leverage. You see a rich dude, you want to be like him, but you're not rich. Those are the ones banks sell loans. Like, when Deepika Padukone puts up a video of vacationing in Maldives, you can't sell a loan to Deepika Padukone. She needs none. She doesn't need a credit card repayment app. Probably her secretary repays her credit card bills. But when you see Deepika Padukone vacationing in Maldives, you will also want to vacation there. And somebody will give that to you in an EMI. And that EMI is leveraged at 8%, then you're good. So this is exactly how any good product is built. So you look at the leverageability of a customer and always pander to the aspiration of somebody who can't currently afford it. And sorry, you should always think about religion. What does religion teach you? The here and now can never be fixed. So pray for a better tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
That is leverage. If the religion told you that here and now can be fixed, you'll fix the here and now, then you don't need it anymore.
Got it.
So every religion says that once you die, I'll fix for you. But there's going to be really bad things for you once you die, because you've sinned and you've done bad things in your life and you've been cruel and whatnot. So keep paying me forward, right? You keep paying me forward so that on the quintessential, whichever religion you take, Abrahamic, non-Abrahamic, Semitic, non-Semitic, they all have a judgment day idea. See, humans are always scared of dying. And the fear of unknown completely ruins the human mind. This is exactly how insurance companies sell insurance.
And it's, yeah.
Right, so insurance is the highest margin thing. And you almost, it's your family who will claim the insurance, just so you know. But you still buy it. Right? So, look, I sometimes wish I can give you a direct answer, but these are important things, and I think you crop it, chop it, whichever way to suit your content. But it is important that you have all these anecdotes kind of pieced together. Otherwise, it's very hard to explain why credit is doing what it is doing, or why any company X, Y is doing what it is doing. Eventually, we're all looking to leverage humans. A highly leveraged human gives you gross margins, and high gross margins mean more profit. And more profit typically means you are firmly in free market capitalism. So that's how you make money. So unless you have this clarity in your head, because an ophthalmologist is not serving you because he cares about your eyesight. He is serving you because it is good to sell spectacles. Do not confuse an ophthalmologist fixing for your eyes as something that he genuinely cares about you having a better eyesight. An outcome of you having a better eyesight is good for you. So it is not sinister, but do not confuse it to why such a thing exists over there. See, if it was non-leverageable, very few people will become doctors. No, very few people will become doctors.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because you can leverage human beings' lack of health is why medicine is such a elaborate, which is why research money is going into it. Who will put research money if it can't be leveraged back as money? A cancer drug research is being done not because you want to save humanity out of cancer. You want to leverage a whole fraternity of humans who have cancer and also cure the cancer. it's not sinister, but it is also not very इसको कैसे बोलते हैं it is not very noble as
people portray as.
and design is very similar. I don't design because I want to help. I design because I can leverage, and many designers won't say it, and I think I'm too old to pretend now. So
You're just 40.
yeah. So look, I design because there is leverage available. There's no
That's
leverage.
controversial. Record that. Right. So now that I think we've spoken a lot about retention, right? And it's beautiful how you explain this entire mall model and the religion model.
Yep.
This my next question to you is what's the next part, the leverage part of it, and what's Cred's plans future forward? I just saw Cred Garage. Beautiful.
No,
I guess you've gotten great attentions on that as well, right?
Sure. I think Cred's plan is very simple, man. Build a meaningful product, build a meaningful bouquet of products, and for a bunch of people who are using our product, create tangible value for them. And when there is tangible value, naturally they will stay. None of the businesses that you know today can get people to come back to you unless you provide value. You can only do so much by marketing yourselves or saying you're going to do something good for them. Eventually, people always look at what value do they generate from that. So the two things that we have always focused is always focus on the value that we provide, and if that value has to be first grade, good value. Very honest. Completely rooted in the fact that whoever is using it generates value from what we're doing. The second bit is create. There are undersolved problems for people from a elegance standpoint.
Right.
So elegance is an opportunity that has not been very well capitalized in this country because we are a large society with a lot of people, and elegance is very expensive.
Got it.
So for the cohort of people that we have, they might just value elegance a lot because that's the kind of cohort that we work with. So elegance is something that humans will pay for at your own relative power of spending and affordability. We all pay for elegance, and if you ask that question, there's a certain reason why you all showed up dressed like how you did. There's variance on that, but there is of course leverage with respect to how elegantly you want to present yourself, right? And it is very under-leveraged because in our country there's such disparity and orthogonality in spending power. There's extreme high spending power, extremely low spending power. Sometimes the narrative just becomes get people to a fair line first, and that's probably giving you lower margins. So I think leveraging elegance is important. That's what we're doing, and all the products that we're building will have to provide great value, no compromise on that, and the second one, solve it well, solve it beautifully, solve it elegantly, and solve it in a way that the first ever point I made, you remembered how I treated you while I solved something for you.
Got it.
That's why sometimes you pay for things just for the warm and fuzzy of it.
Got it.
And so I think, and that's what we did.
I have one more question. This is more on a personal note. What does your daily day at Cred look like?
I have a good team.
Is it more on a hardcore design aspect of it, or is it very managerial? I think that's a question I would like to ask, because initial days it's so hardcore. Let's go in deep into how it's going, and then it just becomes
one thing I've learned in my life, and I was fortunate to have great mentors through my career, and sometimes you have to always reflect on who did you get to learn from. See, look, one thing I've learned and I strongly have come to believe is that you cannot manage downwards. Humans don't like to be managed. Which is why, in academia, most of the times children can't be taught. It's funny that we say that I will teach you. I really can't teach you. You can only learn. It comes very, very inside out. So the same thing with my life as a designer. I can't get people to design because they are going to only feel for it when they feel for it. So, but I can definitely manage upwards. There is always somebody else who is putting higher stakes. So am I supporting the stakes that somebody else is taking who is above my pay grade? Then naturally that ecosystem will very symbiotically grow because everybody is contributing upwards, and as you keep contributing upwards. So my daily life is to just get a whole bunch of very talented designers that I've been very fortunate to have got an opportunity to work with, learn from, and get inspired from. I am just trying to show them in my own small little way what things could be. And when they feel for it, it's magic. It just happens.
It's like showing vision to them.
Yeah, and see, vision is a convoluted word because vision's problem is, I'll tell you, we both are sitting here. No, what you see is not what I see.
Fair enough.
Because your vision is here, my vision is here. And I can't quite say that my vision is better than yours. But what I can definitely tell you is like what I see, you do not see, but it's still a good place. Then what happens is you come with me. Similarly, you tell me, Harish, what I see over there is really cool, why didn't you come with me? Now the problem is like if I told you only if I see it will I come, then progress is very, very hard. Sometimes you have to look at who's sitting at what vantage and what are they looking at, and you trust that person. See, what Kunal Shah sees is not what I see. No, I can't ask Kunal Shah to give me proof every time. That like, please explain to me and prove to me that what you see is actually meaningful. Sometimes you just believe the person's sight. Like, he is actually seeing something out there, maybe due to my own myopia, my own inability to understand what it is. I might not see it, but you still have to go. Like, so that is what is my job right now at my company. It's to show people or inspire people to see what I see. And when they actually can't see it, just tell them, just trust me, come with me. Let's go there and look what's the worst that could happen to us. And as a leader, as a manager, as a leader for all of you, all when you get there, what's important is to make sure that you don't get your people killed. You need to take one. Every time you have to take one, and sometimes you get hurt. Right, like you can never achieve anything together unless a few people are getting bruised, and that getting bruised is part of growing up. But then if you trust me, you would still come with the firm knowledge that you might just get bruised. But if you don't trust me, you might just think that you have the helmet on, I don't have the helmet on. Then it becomes problematic. Yeah. So hand over the helmet and potentially walk and see where that takes. So that's what I'm doing right now. And this is what all good managers do. I don't think it's just very specific to me. I was taught like that. All the leaders I worked with, they led by the example. They showed me how it was done. I just picked it up from them. And I'm doing my small bit. And one thing which I'm very firmly sure is that you can't be authoritarian. You can't tell people to do stuff. Very honest, each one of you, please reflect how many times have you done something just because somebody told you to do it. You always would have re-evaluated that and you would have done a downside analysis. नहीं करेगा तो downside है, इसलिए करते हैं, इसलिए नहीं क्योंकि बोला गया है. बोला गया है, अभी नहीं किया तो कोई downside नहीं है, तो 100% नहीं करोगे. बोला गया है, नहीं करने पे downside है. So we are all, Darwinian evolution has made us that. Like, we are all very downside aware. Like, and sometimes only things like, only addictive things in life actually screw with your brain and make you less aware about downsides. Which is why when we are inebriated, we do stupid things. Because it takes over your brain and switches off your ability to be rational about. Otherwise, nobody will drink and drive, promise you. Because basically what switches off is your downside awareness switches off. That's why people drink and drive, and it almost always ends up badly. So that's the thing. So it is important to know that you can't get people to do anything for you. People will do it because they want to do it, and when they are enthused to do that, magic happens. Which is how departments come alive at Pitspilani. Abhi you've actually put a pragmatic view कि R&D को backdoor बनाने की क्या ज़रूरत है? That conversation will not end anywhere. Because you want to do it. Now, there's a common mission to that. People come together, just do it. And if you just ask that question, what is the whole point? It's not required. Then you'll end up not doing it. That's what it is.
Like drilling down on the same question, I don't think we have a lot of time for this.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to know if you like the 0 to 1 phase of it more or the phase of you are at right now.
Personal level, 0 to 1.
0 to 1, right? And like any justification as to why and how better was it? Like how wide?
I like chaos. It's individually. You also need to strictly look at it from the lens of who are you, and each one of us are different. And I am somebody that thrives in chaos. am somebody that likes the adrenaline rush of the unknown, and I generally don't mind getting hurt. I generally don't mind getting badgered a little because I'm still in uncharted territory, and I completely enjoy lack of structure. I generally enjoy something called controlled anarchy. You know what that is?
I haven't
Like, you know,
heard.
so anarchy is a place where, like, you know, you're just operating on will, and there are no central guidance system that is governing your actions. In anarchic societies, everybody's doing whatever they want, and then such societies generally fall apart. But controlled anarchy is like you have a broader system that controls the outcomes of a largely turbulent environment, but the turbulence itself creates a lot of creative energy.
Got it.
Like, you know, sometimes, like, you know, when you are very small, conflicting forces actually will compound. When you are big, conflicting forces will actually retard you.
Okay.
Like, you know, when you're small, like, you know, two people going against each other, it's not such a bad thing. So the stronger one would actually lead the way. 200 people going against each other will just cancel energies. Will make no progress.
Fair enough.
That's the point.
So yeah, I think that's all the time we have today. So
No, cool, man.
Let's
This was fun.
move the